What we especially want to talk about right now is the features that are recently have been integrated into Teams, and of course that have recently been announced that will be available shortly or soon in the future. We categorize these features into three categories. We have some new features regarding conversations and chats, some features regarding meetings, and then of course certain features that do not really contain to one specific category, so we handle those separately. As of right now, you can embed Power Apps into Microsoft Teams as an application. As it was a while ago, you could implement a Power App into a Teams channel as a tab, but now you can already add a Power App as an application to your Teams environment. If you want to do that, you can simply go to the Power Apps interface, select an application, and then you can either on the top click on Add to Teams or via the Options button Add to Teams. And then that team will become available in the app section or on the left-hand side in your Microsoft Teams interface. This is something that, of course, can be managed via the admin's Team Center so that your organization can manage who can access certain applications and if they are by default available on the left-hand side or under the Apps tab. Something that is very specific but can be used in very dynamic ways is adaptive cards. Now, adaptive cards is a technology that is already available for quite a while via Microsoft, but it is now also usable within Microsoft Teams. This you can get information from adaptive cards from users in Microsoft Teams for a Power Automate flow. If you have a certain workflow or a process running and you want to capture information from people or from certain teams, you can integrate these adaptive cards into your Power Automate process. Then Power Automate will send a message to that person. He can fill it out, submit it. The flow can then process the filled out information and continue with the flow if it still has to do something with that information. This is, of course, very useful because this, again, limits the use of sending emails out, getting information via emails, or sending the end user to a SharePoint list, for example, where he has to fill out some fields. This way you integrate everything into Microsoft Teams. One more thing that you can do with these adaptive cards as of today is that you can implement your approval workflows into them. This means that you can, via your Power Automate flow, send a message to a certain user. He gets information regarding whatever he has to approve, as you can see in this example, and then the person can say, okay, I approve of this or I reject this. Even then, if he presses reject, he can even add a comment, and then the flow will continue to run and do its thing. But approvals are, as of today, also available via adaptive cards. One of the biggest advantages for this, in my opinion, is you do not have to spam the approvers with emails. You can just implement this via Microsoft Teams. And even if you have more than one approver, you could even send this to a specific channel. So it doesn't send one message to each person, it just sends one message into a channel. One person can approve of it, and then the approval is done. The Yammer app just got a redesign. Microsoft is trying to call it the Communities app. I think it's still called the Yammer app on your mobile phone, but it just got a huge redesign. But of course, the redesign also came through as a Teams app. For big companies, it can be a big advantage to use Yammer or the Communities app over an organization-wide team, as the Communities app gives a lot of advantages and a lot more freedom to users to just communicate open and freely throughout their organization. You can add certain Yammer groups, etc., surrounding sport activities or or interests or whatever. So definitely very interesting and a very good app to use in big organizations and to implement into Microsoft Teams. As it was before, you could only go to Yammer via the web interface. You did not have an integrated app available within Microsoft Teams. A new feature that is also available is the feature to share a specific conversation or message from within Microsoft Teams to Outlook. One specific scenario where this can be very helpful is you have certain conversation within a channel or team. 5 people have access to that, but you want to bring one person up to speed about what has been discussed. With this feature, you do not need to give that person access to the team or the channel just to bring him up to speed about what has been discussed. You can simply press share to Outlook, and then an Outlook window will pop up and you can add some more context to this message, choose to whomever you want to send it to, and that looks like this. It will import this as a sort of HTML format. It's not really, it looks like an image, but it isn't an image. You can still select text out of it, but it's pretty helpful in certain situations. The limit from how many members a team can have has again been upgraded. Before it was 5,000, if I'm not mistaken. So it's definitely ideal for larger companies that want to use Teams for top-down communication. If you have teams with a lot of members in them, it is definitely recommended to go to your channel settings and set that only owners can post messages, because if you have a team with, let's say, 10,000 members in it, I think it will be very hard to still see or get an overview of all the messages that will be posted there otherwise. Of course, if you have that big of a team, it might be recommended to take a look into Yammer or the new Communities app and maybe implement that. But if you do not have access to that, or for whatever reason you cannot use that tool, it is now possible to add up to 10,000 members to a team. We talked about the fact that you can share specific Teams conversations to Outlook. I think an even better feature is that you can share an email from Outlook to Microsoft Teams. This has been announced. It is not yet available, but will be pretty soon. But what this just does is you get an email, you can press share to Teams. You can say, I want to include the attachments or not. You simply type in the channel you want to share it to. Of course, you only can share it to channels you have access to. You can add some more context, and this will simply be added as a conversation to that channel, as you will see here. Here you see the email has been added to that channel. I think this is ideal in cases like the help desk. You get an issue into your Outlook or your mailbox and you want to just get the help or involve your colleagues or team members. You can simply forward it to a specific channel, and you can then, of course, work together on the solution via the reply system. Looking forward to this one very much. Microsoft has also announced that it will be implementing a new application in Microsoft Teams for tasks. Now, I hope most of you know of the Planner application. You can add planners to channels or teams. You can work together there with your colleagues. You can add tasks or assign them to certain people. But the issue that one has today is the fact that if you have a lot of planners over your different teams, it can be quite hard to get an overview of everything that is assigned to you. So Microsoft is trying to solve this with the Tasks application, but the Tasks application will not only contain tasks from all of the available planners. It will also bring tasks from flagged emails in your Outlook. It will show those tasks. You can add personal tasks to this application as well. So with Planner, of course, you could not add a planner just for you personally, you could only create one with Office 365 group behind it. So it's also very handy that you can just add personal tasks. And one of the bigger things, in my opinion, that this also adds is the fact that if you are working on a document with some colleagues and they add comments to that document, they can tag you in that document in the comment section, and you will even get tasks in this overview that someone has added a comment for you to resolve in a document, which can, of course, be very helpful, which was not yet available as of today. So you can definitely look forward to using this Tasks app in the near future. One of the things that was also very heavily requested was to get a list overview of your tasks in all of the planners. As it was before, you could only see it in the boards overview. You get these big cards. And if you, of course, then have a lot of tasks in them, it wouldn't be very helpful or very easily viewable to end users that way. So the list view will also be available in this application. Power Automate will also add contextual flows and new triggers to Power Automate. Now, what does this exactly mean, contextual flows? This means that you can start flows from specific messages within a channel, which can be very helpful. One example that you see here is add to OneNote or create a task. So this means that you can create a task for a specific message in a channel. If someone tags you, you will be able to add a task to the new task application so that you have a task in there available for follow-up. Otherwise, you might be able, or you will forget that you had something to follow up on. So definitely something to look forward to. And a new trigger that will also be coming is when a person joins a team, you could create some sort of Power Automate flow that welcomes the member to that team, maybe send him a few links to some important documents that are available within this team, etc. So that is also something that will be coming in the near future. But Microsoft Lists will hopefully be coming very soon. It is in some way like SharePoint Lists, but of course, a lot more modern, more functionality will be available within it, and definitely for viewing pleasure, or as you can see here, it is very easy to manage these lists, to create these lists. And one of the biggest features that, in my opinion, I have seen from this is that you also will have the possibility to add comments to items in these lists. In SharePoint, this was never an option. You could, of course, in SharePoint add a custom column and use that as a comments field. But here you can visually see that a comment has been added to this item. You can easily follow up on that, etc. You will be able to create these lists from blank. So you start from a blank list. You can create them from an Excel that you have. You will then take the headers and create those columns in that list, and just look at the content within that column and use that to define what type of column it will be. It will also be available to create a new list from certain templates. As you can see here, there will be a lot of templates available from the start with different views in them, with different columns in them. And you can use these as a starting point to build upon. And I think one of the last ones that we are talking about today is the fact that Microsoft Teams will come in the near future with contextual search. As of right now, if you search at the top of Microsoft Teams, it will always search throughout entire Teams. In the near future, it will be possible if you are within a channel. If you press Ctrl F, it will do a contextual search that will only search within that channel's messages and files, of course, which will be very helpful in certain situations.